Camillus, do you want to introduce yourself or should I introduce you?
You want to try?
Yes.
See if you
Well,
get it right.
Camillus Lopez is our cultural mentor at TOCC at the college. So he provides us with a lot of instruction as far as the culture and language. So he also teaches as an adjunct as well, and is going to spend a little bit of time talking about language that's associated with our subject today. So welcome and thank you for joining us.
Sure. Like Linda said, my name is Camillus Lopez. I come from a place called Santa Rosa on the Gachi district of the Tohono O'odham Nation, and I've always been interested or wanting to know how people understand things, because I know that all cultures are diverse, and especially for our O'odham culture, there's a lot of dialects, different ways to say things, and even there's a language barrier in some cases. Some places, some words, like we don't have a word for love, we don't have a word for him, we don't have a word for her, and generally the language kind of breaks down to the beginning where we see things in the desert before what you guys call colonization. Before anybody got here, we were here and we only had those words. The O'odham language primarily consists of about 7,000 to 8,000 words. We don't have any more than that. Compared to English, about 350,000 words. You know, it's kind of like saying, you know, like you have a few dollars, and you say like you have $7,000 to somebody else who have $350,000, so you can compare how much more the other person has. But generally, that's all that all of them have. It's just that much language. A lot of the stuff was brought in when the Spaniards came in, the Europeans came in, and they started to bring in new tools and new things that we started to use. So we had to get a name for that. A lot of it is the Mexican Spanish names. Say like caballo is for horse. There was no horses here until they brought them. And so the word for horse is caballo, but it comes from the Spanish word caballo. So again, like money, they call it real, peso. And so we call it real. It's just kind of optimized there. It's kind of like stuff like what's other, like candy. We didn't have candy a long time ago. We had sweets, but we didn't have candy. So when they brought it, what did we call it? We didn't have a name for it. So we called it what they called it. And the name for candy in Spanish is dulce. Dulce. So we call it dulce. Dulce. So again, you know, that's kind of like the language being, how do you say, altered coming in here. So a lot of these things that are going to be talked about, we have words for some of those things because this was something that was already happening a way long time ago. With regard to the etching, if we were to take, you know, that old stuff and put it to today's language, it sometimes fits and sometimes doesn't fit. What we're talking about when we say art, what is that? What is art? How do we say it in art? And there's really no way, because, you know, in the European culture, in the Western culture, they have these things where they categorize stuff. So, you know, like math, art, science, you know, they're all categories. But for art, we've always looked at things like it's just one thing. You know, you can look at a horse and, you know, look at the biology of the horse. But then you can also look at the hooves and the, you know, the length of the horse and say, how many hooves, I mean, how many horse legs does it have? What size of the hooves? What do you need to do? And so then you get your math. and then you're doing your language, so then you get your language. So it all comes in one, and that's what they call holistic learning, where you just study one thing, but you're ticking off like the different things, like the math and the science and all that, according to whatever that thing is that you're looking at. So again, there's no real word for art, but there is a word for drawing, and there's a word for coloring, for colors. Now, the word for colors, or to show, you do the individual colors, yes, but what do you say when something has color in it? It's just the word for mas, which is mas or masic, which means like how does it, to show it, how does it look like? So a baby is in the mother's womb, and a baby comes out of the mother's womb, and then we call it masic. So it's the word, when you narrow it down, it means the showing, when you're showing something. So the baby that was in the womb, all of a sudden now it's being shown. It is out there for people to look at and see. So the showing. So it's the same thing with art. What you're doing is you're making something, and you're showing it, or it's becoming something that you can see. So in that same way with colors, you say has mas. What does it look like? Sha or mas, mas. Because again, that's the word to see and to show. Masikich. So when you say like for colors, then you draw the colors out anywhere. In autumn, you say like oimasich, non comas. And so if you say like red, the color red, you'd say swuk. But when you say it like in foreign terms of art, you would say swuk mas, mas. Or green, you would say studak mas. So again, you're saying green, and then you're saying this is what it looks like. It's kind of backwards, but that's how the language works. So studak mas. So a mamsikit or a masik. When the sun comes up in the morning, you say smasik, but and then when you take something like say you get an apple, and you say, do you want an apple, to somebody, and they will say sha'o mas, what is the color? Because an apple can be yellow, it can be green, it can be red. So again, masikich, sha'o mas. So when you draw something, it's one way, but when you color in something, again, in terms of art, what you're saying, what you do in art, is you message it, message. So again, it's just the way that it looks, or how does it look, or what does it look like? So that's mastic. And then the other thing is, again, to draw. When you draw something someplace, and you take a pencil, or even a long time ago when they used to do the etching on the stones, they would say uh-oh, which means to write or draw in today's language. But a long time ago, it just means that you're going to make a mark on something. So you take a pencil or a pen or something, and you draw a line. You say bomasik, and because you're showing it, but then you're saying when you're saying this is what I'm drawing. Masik is more like showing, but means that you're actually doing it. You're actually drawing whatever that thing is that you're wanting to draw, or that thing is that you're wanting to illustrate. So you draw something someplace. So now a long time ago, we didn't have a word, because we didn't write letters. We didn't write like alphabet or anything like that. So what happened was when the Europeans or whoever else brought stuff, they would show it to different to all of them. They didn't know what to call it. So we just used the same word as drawing. So if somebody says, write your name on this piece of paper, they will say, "Wa'aha gchuki." So "a'aha" becomes that word that is, to draw or to write. So now we say to write something with "ba'aha," "ba'aha." And so when you have like something that's been written in a place, then you'd say that your ba'ahan it's drawn. Like a long time ago, they used to have tattoos, not like we do now. They're not like pictures of things. A long time ago, when women and boys and girls, when they went to ceremonies, sometimes they would paint their bodies. So they got the paint from the trees. They got the paint from the trees, and or the different stone, or the dirt. They would get the paint, and then they would use that paint and draw it over their body. So they might have like a butterfly or for the ceremonies. They didn't necessarily do it all the time. Most of the time, they just colored they would put the paint all over their body like a red paint. That was mostly during the summertime because then that would protect them from the rays of the sun, and so they would do that and put paint on their body. So the red or the green or the yellow, whatever they chose to use, mostly is red or just the dirt, the regular dirt. But when they did ceremonies, they would have like the woman's menstruation ceremony or coming of age. Then they would dress up, but they didn't have nothing to wear really, because a long time ago women weren't dressed, or they didn't have clothes like we do now. So what they would do is they would just paint their bodies, and the next day they could wash it off and then do a new design. So, and mainly for like for a marriage, because marriages were arranged a long time ago. So they would paint it like a butterfly, and the next day maybe they put like clouds or whatever on their body, and so the parents would see them, because again they're arranged marriages. So they would say, we want to ask that girl over there or we want to ask the parents of that girl over there to marry our son. And they switch girl. Oh, the one that had the butterfly the first night, and then the next night she had the whirlwind, and the next night she had the stars. Oh, that girl, yeah, we know her. She's related to us, kind of like that. So they would do that by identification. So they call that when you buy a masik. So those are two words again that you use for that. But the other tattoos, the permanent tattoos, we didn't have those in O'odham culture a long time ago. Like we do now, with drawings and stuff. A long time ago, we just like two little dots right here, or three little dots, or up here on the forehead, like three little dots. You see some elder women, if you get real close to their face, you might see like there's a little dot, or they sometimes they have them like on by the eyes, mostly up here and here on the chin. And I seen some girls that were telling me about their O'odham tattoos, and they had like streaks down, like long line. They used to do that, but that was kind of rare. It's kind of more like the Polynesians do, but they would do like that only for identification, because a lot of times, a long time ago, the girls, the sisters would look alike. So if the guys was married to one of them and mistook for the other one, and did this and that, then the parents didn't like that. So that's why they did that. And so they would say, oh, which girl you're married to? Or okay, the one that has the one dot, or the one that has three dots. Okay, that one. So they would know that they weren't mistaken or whatever. And that other one is that to identify that. So many times when a girl is married, then sometimes the parents of the boy would tell the girl that she needs to get some tattoos, so that the boy will recognize, or that they will recognize her, apart from her sisters, or that it's kind of like a wedding thing. You're married now, and so we're going to give you these dots. So that's how they did it a long time ago. But again, like I said, it's mainly for identification. It wasn't really for anything else. I know in this Navajo guy was talking on the internet about, how Navajos don't, when they do tattoos, but there's certain parts of the body you're not supposed to mark up because that's the portals. And when you go to get healed and they use the sand paintings, they would do that and mark that part. Well, if there's already a mark there, then they can't do it and you're going to remain sick. So it kind of like that. That mainly people didn't really have tattoos on the body. It was just mainly like the hands. They'll put like little dots here and there. And even that, you can ask some elders, you see your hands and look real close, and you might see that there's a tattoo there that faded out or whatever. So those are mainly the kind, but again, it's the same word, ma'ahanas. So in O'odham we say, waik kapahanas, 3 little dots right here, or hamakahanas, like for the lines. So again, it was just that you did that to identify, especially in ceremony, when things happen, then they pick certain people, and but those are like the ones that don't have markings because they're going to do something to them. But again, it's usually the people that haven't been married yet that are picked for those ceremonies, where it's kind of like that. So in a way, it's clear. So ma'aha, ahanas, and masik. So those are 2 words. Now the shells, you call them kohkot. So those are the words that they used for shells. Now, shells in a long time ago were like currency when they used to like go to the ocean and get all these shells. But it's different from nowadays. I've seen people wearing shell necklaces and whatever. The ones that they talk about in the myth are, when they talk about it, it's like they have to clap when you shake your hand. They have to clap, or you're jumping around and you're dancing. They have to clap because that sound was believed that it was calling the rain. So it's like the rain falling from the ground and hitting the ground is that, so that's why they did that. So the kohkot would be the jewelry was made in a certain way where you could hear somebody walking, kind of like the jinko dress, but that again is to identify a woman or a man, where if they're loud enough, then maybe the parents will look to that person to get them married off to their own children. So again, currency. There's a story about the coyote and how the guy that wanted to marry the evening star, and so he sends the coyote, and what he does is he gives him this string of shells, and she tries to get the girl to wear it, but she won't wear it. She keeps throwing them away, and she says, I don't want to, I don't want to marry anybody, because that was kind of like the signal. Again, shells being like currency. So you have a string of shells that can buy you a lot of stuff. So what they're saying is that if you take the shell, then it's kind of like an engagement ring, or then so you marry. And there are some families that still understand that, still believe that. Very rare, but there was a girl that told me that this guy gave her a shell, and she was saying, "What does that mean?" And I said, "What did you do with it?" "Oh, it's at my house." And they said, "Well, you have like, I don't know, when did you get it?" "Oh, a few days ago." And I said, "Oh, he's asking for your hand in marriage." "No, I don't want to marry him because he's just a good friend. And, he's a nice person and a good friend. And I don't feel that way about him." "Well, you better give the shell back." So she gave the shell back, and it was like maybe, I don't know, 2 months later, I asked her about what happened to the shell. I gave it back to him. What happened? He was really mad. He was really angry. He won't talk to me no more. And, you know, kind of like that. And, but I said, well, I guess that was intent in the first place. It was just that it wasn't, you know, like he used the O'odham way, which again, people don't really do that anymore. So again, that's what mainly shells are meant for. And then to call the ocean, when you have diarrhea, you know, you use seashells, and the seashells will help you to get rid of that because it's actually the ocean power. Again, salt water, when you have, you know, like a disease, sometimes the ocean power will get to you, and they use the seashells to fix that. And so sometimes when you see people wearing the seashells, then people that are more traditional might say like, oh, you're not supposed to do that because that was their way, you know, like you're only when you're getting healed, then you wear the seashells. But again, that's really up to you. It's not, you know, not the same nowadays. But so the again, on Kohkot, we're going to write, or we're going to make a mark on the shell, Kohkot. So it don't matter how you make the mark, or if you're going to burn it on there, or if you're going to, you know, use Sharpie or whatever. It's just that's the only thing that I would that I found that you could say about like that. So the etching, whether you're carving bachukrat, which is to scratch or to, you know, to make a mark, is kind of like a different kind of word, but it's the same thing. But when people look at that, now the word chukrat means to make a mark, but more like in the sand, in the ground. So again, you're scratching it to make an indentation. So it's that, okay, but chukrat. But chukran, it means to scratch. If you're going to get a stick and draw a line, and that's why in O'odham the districts are called chukran, because you're making a line, a fence, that is saying this is where this end and this one starts right here. So chukran is like you're making a line. So you can say that, and you know, like when you're making a mark, and even on the, for whatever, you know, shell, you can say bachukrak because you scratched it. You know, the other word that you can use is hokui. Hook means to scratch. You know, so if you're gonna scratch something, the hook, you know, you scratch your hair, you scratch, you know, your body when it itches. So hooksha, which is the same thing. Like I said, you get a piece of rock and you start scratching it, and it starts to, you know, make a mark. Then they say hookshot, you know, hooks. So, which again is the same thing like jewelry. You know, you're scratching it, bachukshot, scratching it. But all in all, generally most people would say honest, because you made a mark of some sort on something, and this would be the kohkot, the seashells. So generally, that's what I see in this part of, you know, what actually supposed to happen, and then throwing those words out, because I think that when you talk about it in O'odham, and you talk with O'odham people, might ask, you know, what are you doing? And then you can, you know, look for that. Because I've seen like somebody will explain something, and there's an elder standing there, and they'll turn to whoever understands both language will turn to the elder and say, but and okay, now I understand, you know, like that. So again, masik, which means to show, or like colors, or to show what it looks like, and then which is the general word for writing or drawing. Those two are things that when you say art in O'odham, that's what you would use, those two words. So I think that's all that I have.
Does anybody have any questions? Because if you just speak up, let's hear you. Comments? All right. Thank you, Camillus.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry you can't join us for lunch.
Oh, I'm at Whataburger. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Thank you. I'll see you.
Okay. All right. Behave.
Thank you.
I'm talking to you, Linda. Behave.
All right. Thank you. Bye.